Hey everyone, welcome back to the Anchored Aviator. So today we're going to go over ground schools. There are two different types of ground schools that we're going to talk about. So one is more geared towards what I'm doing. It's more flexible. The other one is kind of a more structured school. I'll tell you what schools I chose, and how I did that, how I made that decision, and how it's led me to where we are today. And I'll give you some knowledge reading books that are must-haves for doing this if you're going to pursue this. So let's start out with ground school. So there's two types of ground schools. There's Part 61, and then there's Part 141 ground school. So what Part 61 is it's more structured. It's not just ground school. It's actually the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle to get your private pilot's license. Part 61 is a flexible, more personalized ground school. It's less structured. It's instructor-led by your certified flight instructor, your CFI, and it can kind of tailor to your pace and your needs. Maybe you're lacking in one area that instructor can say, hey, he's got the turns down, don't need to mess with that. Let's go with some stalls that he's having a problem with. And he can focus on stalls. He or she can focus on stalls. As far as FAA oversight, there's a lot less directives that you need to meet. And it's not quite as, what am I trying to say, structured again, but it's not set to a school curriculum or anything like that. It's your pace, what you can do, and preferably your CFIs are going to want you to have ground school kind of completed or at least working on. Another big difference is flight hours. For Part 61 school, you need a minimum of 40 hours for your private pilot's license. So what that means is you need 30 hours instructed, 10 hours of solo flight before you can take your check ride, which I believe I spoke about. The check ride is a 2 to 3 hour oral exam with a designated examiner, DPE, and then a flight. So it's like your driver's test. You take a test, an oral test, and then you demonstrate your flying abilities. So you need 40 hours to do that, minimum. Usually the national average is 60 to 70 hours. So you have to take into account learning everything you can, studying everything you can to minimize that 40 hours, to get close to that 40 hours as possible when you're training, because you don't want over 40 to 70, you're talking money per hour you have to spend. So you want to really be careful going into that, knowing your knowledge. If you're in a situation I'm in where you're balancing everything, you also want to balance that finance and make sure you're getting the best amount of training in the shortest amount of time. Part 61 is best for hobbyists, people looking to just fly for fun, part-time students, and those with kind of unpredictable schedules. So it's perfect for what I'm doing. My schedule can be unpredictable at times. So that's the route that I am doing, is actually a Part 61. So I have flexibility. I can study on my own time and work with my certified flight instructor, which I know that we talked. I'll touch on that later, where I'm at in that process as well. Part 41 is more structured and streamlined. So it's formal. It's an FAA approved syllabus with classroom instruction, stage checks, and defined timelines. So like I was saying with Part 61, I'm struggling on stalls, but I've got turns down. They are turns, stalls, cross country, boom, 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 boom. They hit it all, same amount of time under a certain curriculum. The schools must maintain a high pass rate for their school. So it is a school. It's very structured. But with that, there's lower minimums. You only need 35 hours, minimum hours, to get your private pilot license. and it's best for full-time students and those seeking kind of that official path to their air transport pilot, to their ATP. So it's school. It is. It's a classroom-based school that wraps your flight school in with it. So that's the two different types of schools. I'm not going to hit on 141 because I don't know a lot about it, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing Part 61 school. So how I came to find my ground schools online. Of course, I went to Google and YouTube and basically just started a search. And I searched free ground schools online, not knowing what I was doing. Again, going into this in the dark. So I came across one, and it's freepilottraining.net. It's run by a guy named Josh Campbell. He has a bunch of certifications, and his school is absolutely 100% free on YouTube. You go to freepilottraining.net. There's his videos. There's 60-some videos. It's updated regularly. It is free. It is 100% free. They're usually 4 to 12 minutes video, and he hits everything starting with your basic aerodynamics, and then runs through the whole gambit of it. What I like about freepilottraining.net, he is very relatable. He makes it funny, which is kind of nice to mix that up a little bit. It breaks the monotony of studying. And also, before each course, in his notes, let me back up a little bit. It is free. In order to take your written test, you have to have a certified flight instructor sign off and give you that sign off saying, yes, he's done this. Yes, he meets these requirements. He can take the written test that the FAA provides. So you need an endorsement, is what it's called. So for $50, you can get his whole course, which includes a PDF download of the entire course, each course broken down. What I really like about it is, so if he's doing aerodynamics, he has what study material to read, where to look that up, where to find all that. It's broken down. You read the study material, watch the video, take notes. That's what I do. So I see what I got to read, and I watch the material and take notes while I'm watching. Let me jump in there. 2 books that you absolutely 100% need for sure is the PHOC, Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. It is everything that will ever be covered for your private pilot's license and beyond. I read, I take notes, I highlight like crazy, things that I'm looking at, like things that I read, and I base that off of Josh's video and what he's requiring you to read. Your FAR-AIM, which is your Federal Aviation Regulations, and your Aeronautical Information Manual. It has all your regulations. It has things that are in here as well, just broken down. This is kind of the legal book for aviation. It has it all in there. And then another one is their Airman Certification Standard pilot book. It has all of your standards, what you need to pass, what they're going to be looking at through everything. Haven't jumped into that a whole lot yet, but 3 books to have. I like paper copies, hardback copies. I like to physically have the book in my hand so I can highlight, so I can read, you can buy these books on Amazon, or some these schools have links to them, but I like having them in my hand. That's just the way I learn. Links for these books are in some of these courses. I do believe in freepilottraining.net. He has links. They're free downloads. You can get them free. Normally they run, I think this book was $18-20. This book was like $11, and the FAR-AIM is actually a little more expensive, but it's something that you can use for a long time and beyond, because it covers pretty much everything throughout. So that's worth it. And then my wife tabbed it for me, which makes it breaks it down into sections. You can buy them with tabs. They're like $70 with tabs. You can buy them separate. buy the tab separate and do it. My wife told me that I should have bought the tab book, but I appreciate what she did for that. 3 books to have. You can download them for free. There's a lot of material you can download for free other than these 3. I have a library kind of over here of books that I bought that has to do with weather, that has to do with risk management. The airplane flying handbook, which is another book that I think I will need in the future, so I have it. I have all those over there. A little folder of some printouts that I've done. These schools will have that for free downloads if you want to go that route. Again, it's easier for me and my learning method to have it in my hand. So, freepilottraining.net has all that. It's broken down. He's funny. He makes it fun to learn. There's a lot of things like that he will do that kind of burns it into your memory. I had an English teacher in high school or middle school, and he would wear a big sign that says "not" as an adverb, or he would, different things like that. But I'll never forget that "not" is an adverb. Like just funny things that he did that kind of burnt to your memory. He does kind of things like that, like yaw to the left, yaw to the right. He makes kind of funny jokes when he's talking about, lift and decreasing, trees get bigger, trees get smaller. He kind of does funny things, which makes the learning kind of broken up a bit. I like him a lot. Josh Campbell, freepilottraining.net. It's free if you want it, if you need the endorsement. It's $50 for the whole course with everything. It's well worth it, well worth it. So around November, I'm going through the freepilottraining.net. And there were some things that I was like, I don't get this too much. So I went back to YouTube, started searching, hey, can you, I think it was like density altitude or something like that. Explain density altitude a little further. This thing popped up. First thing popped up was Pilot Institute. Greg, and I'm going to destroy his last name. I even wrote it down right in front of me. Reverdow. And he did, I believe it was density altitude. I watched it, I was like, wow, that's really good. So I started looking into a little more stuff that I didn't understand. He had some videos online for Pilot Institute. And then of course, algorithms kick in and I start getting a bunch of Pilot Institute stuff on my Facebook group. Black Friday sale. All right, let me look at this. So looked into it, dug into it a little more, and saw that they were having a sale where I could get my ground school, instrument rating school, deep dive into Cessnas, because more than likely you're going to be training in a Cessna or a Piper or a plane similar to that. There was like 2 other things, like just add-ons for cheaper than the price of just the pilot or the ground school that they were offering. Looked at it, thought it was well worth it considering their instrument rating course was even more than what their ground school course was. So I was like, I'm going to need that in the future. So I started thinking about future. It was $250, and it also comes with the FAA endorsement to take your test. I pulled the trigger on that. I'm so glad I did, because that is a lot more in depth. There's skill tests throughout, and actually freepilottraining.net, when you buy the full course, has testing with each course. Just 3 or 4 questions after you complete the subject. There's 3 or 4 questions, FAA type questions that you can take, which is great. So, Pilot Institute. Love the material. Love how deep dive they go into it. And he'll say more times than not, this is probably something you don't need for your private pilot's license. It's more based towards commercial or anything like that, which is great because I don't just want to blow through this, but I want to be a proficient, safe pilot as well. Combining the 2 together has been great for me, because if I don't get it on one, I can get it on the other. 2 different styles of teaching, bunch of great graphics on Pilot Institute. They break things down. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic ground school. I'm so glad that I took it. But there's so much. Each section's broken down, and now it's a lot more in depth. So, but you can track the percentage that you've completed for each section. like I want to say aerodynamics was like 32 different videos just for aerodynamics. But as you watch a video, it'll check it. It'll show your completion, goes through step by step by step. They go in depth of using flight computers, which I'll explain in a later video, but they're fantastic too to have. But he really Greg gets deep into it, and it's fantastic. And then at the end of each session, they have like a little video where he's sitting down with one of his students, and they go over the section kind of like it's that oral exam. It's a great course. They have a requirement at the end. You have to complete the course 100%. I'm at like 48%, so I'm about halfway done with Pilot Institute. And at the end, you have to take 2 exams, I can't keep saying FFA, no, not Future Farmers of America, Federal Aviation, FAA exams, and score at least a 90. They do offer a money-back guarantee that if you complete their course, complete their exams, and you go take your FAA exam and you fail it, they offer a money-back guarantee on that, which is great. So you get the endorsement, you get a ton of downloads for reading material, a ton. You also get, there are a lot of free things once you have a login and you can log in. There are a lot of free things you can do. There are a lot of extra things you can do. You can actually, once you find a flight instructor, if you're doing Part 61 and you find your flight school and it's a local school and they need to see where you're at, you can share your ground school from Pilot Institute with your CFI, which is great. So with all that said, Part 61 is the way to go. I highly recommend free pilottraining.net and Pilot Institute. I love them, and they are great. And I have tons of materials, tons of notes that I'm taking. Like these books are just full of my notes that I take. And with Pilot Institute, they also have a breakdown section at the beginning of each section where you can download every slide he goes through. So it's like a PowerPoint. And it has the photo of the slide he's going over, everything that's in the slide, and then beside it, it has notes. Again, I like to hand take notes so I can have them and go. But I have a second computer here that I use, and I pull the notes up, and then I have my video rolling on this computer. It really is great. It's a great ground school, and I'm really enjoying it. And they have, another thing they have is they have their own social. So they go step by step on how to get on their social. If you have questions about the course, anything like that, they've thought of everything. There are other ground schools. There are many ground schools out there. These are the 2 I'm using, the 2 I recommend. I looked at some others that felt a little dated. The videos felt a little dated. Some of the other ones were a lot more expensive, which probably for a reason, but for my budget at $300 for 2 ground schools, including my instrument rating, including the Cessna deep dive, including extra reading materials, including all the extra training that I'll get from this flight school, is well under what other ground schools is well under what other ground schools are going to cost you. So look into it, do your research, find what you like. I recommend these 2. They're fantastic. So with ground school, when you start looking for your flight school and you start calling around, if you're doing Part 61, make sure to ask questions. And I'll go into a deeper dive, but I'm not sure where you are in your journey. But if you're starting to look for ground schools, one big question to ask is how their training syllabus is ran. There is a flight school local. I am in Martinsburg, West Virginia, Eastern Panhandle, about an hour and 45 minutes from DC. So there are ground schools within the area within an hour, several. Some don't contact you back, which should tell you a whole lot about their ground school. One right here, like I live right next to an air guard, which has an airport that has ground schools there that you can use. And it's an airport you can use. But they never contacted me back. I'm literally like 8 minutes from my house. I'm not gonna be able to go there because they're not contacting me. I've contacted several ways. Do your due diligence, use your brain. Like if they're not contacting me back, I'm not gonna go reach out of my way. There was another flight school about 2 hours away that I was looking at that had a pilot house that I might have been able to stay there throughout the weekend. You know, I'm off on Friday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, hit some flight training. That didn't pan out, but we'll get into that in another video. But make sure if you're calling these schools, ask them, because one of the school that's not far away in Virginia, like 35 minutes, I called them. They were part 141, even though their website said they were both. I had to buy their flight school, or their ground school, which was $450. Fly on their time. They're very heavily booked. Couldn't get the time in that I wanted. Like those 3 days were my window to fly. You want to fly as often as possible to minimize, to retain the information. So if you fly once a week, the following week you go to fly, your instructor is going to be like, okay, we have to review what we did the first week, your first lesson. Or if you fly 2 or 3 times a week, you're going back and reviewing lesson 3 the next week. A little more money up front, but in the long run, you're knocking those hours out quickly, and you're getting your training done faster, which eliminates that minimum of 40 to 70. Maybe you're doing it in 55. So that's 15 hours, and you're looking, honestly, places I've called around, places I'm doing, you're looking at $200 to rent the airplane per hour, and most instructors are $70 to $95, some $100 an hour. So $250 to $300 an hour, easy, for 1 hour. You need 40 minimum. So you can do the math on that. But most of the schools around me were 18 to 20,000 just for your private pilot's license. I don't want to pay that. I'm going to find ways to get around that, but to also be proficient. So that is the breakdown of the schools. That is how I chose mine. Again, freepilottraining.net. It's fun. It's quick. Pilot Institute, you're getting a deep dive into everything with a ton of extra information. Both are great. I recommend both. You could do the free pilot training. Maybe you can find a flight instructor that'll sign off on you to take your FAA exam. That's great. Read the material though. It's not as much as a deep dive, so read that PHOC if you don't. But Josh has put a lot of time into what he's done for freepilottraining.net, and it's worth $50. So I would recommend, if you're just going to do that one, give the man $50. You get your endorsement at the end. He also has a test you have to take and you have to pass. It's worth it. It's worth the $50. I think that's all I want to cover today. I hope you guys are liking these videos. I'm gonna, I think, post a little sooner than once a week, maybe two times a week, because I feel like there's a lot going on. I want to go into the next one about the medical aspect of it, what you need for your medical. It's pretty deep. There's a bunch going on with medical, and I also want to have something in the works for my flight school, which is good, and it's not far away, and I think it's going to work out, and it's going to save me money. And the instructor is actually a friend of my buddy that I get to fly with every once in a while. So it's good stuff. Things are good. I want to end with Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. I don't have my glasses, so forgive me, but trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Thought that was a great verse for today, depending on what you're looking on. If you have the time to do the 141 structured school, by all means, you're going to have a great experience. Just don't settle on the first school you call, the first school you talk to. They're salesmen. They're going to want to sell it to you. The flight school, a couple hours away, like when I told them that it's not going to work out because of not being able to use the flight house or the pilot house and do all that. They try to sell it to you. You know, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. It was costing me extra money to do that. Love those guys down there. I've met those guys down there. My buddy flies into the airport down there all the time, so I get to see them. And what you're going to find is that this community is small. It's a small-knit community, especially in towns. If you're in a town like I'm a small town, flying to smaller airports, they're going to support you. Like when I got done talking talking to the guy that runs the flight school at the airport in Virginia. He was, anything you need, if you have any questions on anything, like, they're super supportive. You know, this is something that, 15 to 20% of people that go after, 1 to 2% succeed. So it's a very small knit community, and I found that everyone I've talked to has been super helpful, super respectful. But when you initially get into those flight schools, they're trying to sell it to you. So just ask questions. You can Google questions to ask, and then you will get, boom, tons of questions to ask about how long their school's taken to get to that 40, to get people to take that check ride in their final exam, how many planes they have available, how many students they have available. Talk to the students. Ask if you can sit at the airport and just watch and observe, their what they're doing. Sometimes you can even, if they have a larger plane with a larger useful load, you can fly with the instructor and their student, just to kind of get a feel. But that doesn't log your hours, but there's a lot of things you can do. Next video, we'll talk about the medical information, and we'll go into some hopefully good news for my flight instruction. So you guys have a great rest of your week, and another book to have. It's very important. Is that one, the Bible. So thank you guys, bless you guys, and have an awesome, awesome week, and I'll see you soon.